Let's just give it another minute or so. Let's see. We should be streaming. I don't see the link just yet. There we go. Okay. Let's get us up in Stage Archive. Perfect. Hey, Darren, Jay, Ocamp. Who else is here? Silver Fox, Darren, Mileno, Yo Mama, Joust, Ultra, me. Welcome, everyone. All right, that is good. Okay. How's everyone feeling tonight? How's the week going? Are we good? We got a little bit of a recovery in the market, so that's always nice to see. That definitely helps out with the morale. I feel like that's an important point as well, is that even though inevitably people feel the emotions of the market, just then how do you balance those intense emotions? How do you act upon those emotions? So I know we're all feeling it, and hopefully it's a bit more positive today. All right. So I figure I will just jump right on into some of the reviews of the announcements for this week, and kind of discuss some other things. And we got a couple questions that we can go through as well from the stage questions. Of course, if you guys have any questions as we're going through this, go ahead and list them in stage questions. I'll also be hanging out in stage chat here on the Discord as well, so feel free to drop questions in there. We'll be able to pick them up. So thanks for coming out, those of you who are here. Let's go ahead and get started. So first and foremost, we were able to release one of our weekly reports after quite some time. So it's awesome to see that these are back in play. And just some highlights from that, because I did see this come up a bit as well, is how does Sphere benefit from Preon? Because a lot of our focus recently has been on Preon and what it's going to do, and how it will integrate with Dyson, for example, Sphere Lend, but there's still a disconnect for some people about how that will actually then go and benefit Sphere. So it's going to benefit Sphere in a variety of ways. First and foremost, part of Preon's initial supply will be allocated to the Sphere Treasury. So in a sense, Sphere is a launch partner, similar to how it was with Chronos, for example. Sphere has an allocation of Preon, so Sphere will be able to become a VE Preon holder to be able to receive incentives from Preon the same way that all other VE Preon holders will. Hey T1, what's up? And then, of course, Sphere is the de facto governance token of Dyson and Sphere Lend, both of which will play in various Preon mechanisms significantly, especially in the future once things have taken off, gotten established, and things start hitting the ground running. So these are the various ways that Sphere will benefit. But then also, I know still there can be a disconnect even with that. So in general, how is Sphere going to benefit from all of these different ecosystem components? And so basically the premise is that the Sphere price will appreciate from the desire to get returns in significant assets. Right now we have WMatic being paid out for YL Spherians. The higher the APR, the more the interested parties. So things like Preon, Sphere Lend, Dyson, all of these are revenue sources which increase the amount of APR paid out more than they would be standing alone, due to their built-in interactions with each other, their synergies, all working to increase the APR of yield-locked Sphere. So every new protocol uses using a service is going to increase that revenue. Every time we introduce a new pool, a new chain, all of these different things, each project is going to contribute to that revenue. So, of course, just releasing these products and these different ecosystem projects is not the end to that increase in revenue. It's just the start. In fact, I was kind of reflecting today, Sphere is still really a baby in terms of its development, where it's looking to be, what parts it's looking to have in place to create this flywheel. So all of these components, once they are in place, that increase in APR for YL Sphere or for locked Sphere as VE Sphere, depending on where we are, increases more and more. And eventually you get a balance in price and APR. Because eventually, if the APR is getting large enough people will want to come in, buy Sphere, lock Sphere to earn that APR. So that will increase the price, lower the APR, and things will balance out. So there will be a point where the price of Sphere is higher, the APR is lower, and vice versa. This is just kind of a new market dynamic that Sphere has because of its real yield function and system. So that new equilibrium is always going to be changing. And as more and more revenue is added, that cycle of finding the balance between price and APR is going to happen again and again and again. And of course, how well the ecosystem projects are functioning relative to the rest of the market, how well the market is doing in terms of making it easier or more difficult to bring liquidity into DeFi. All of these different things will play into that as well. So a little bit of a rant there, but I wanted to cover that because, again, a lot of people have been asking that question of how does Sphere end up benefiting from these different projects? And, stemming from that more directly, their true question is, how does it change the price of Sphere? And more or less that is how. By driving revenue, driving APR to YL Sphere, incentivizing people to lock their Sphere tokens for that yield. Very good. We've also seen that Dyson has been putting out other pools, specifically the Euro JEUR or EURS JEUR pool. This is a stablecoin pool built around the European dollar or the euro. So this hopefully has been helpful for people looking to diversify outside of the US dollar, given the de-dollarization that has been occurring globally. And it's a pretty juicy yield vault. So of course that is available in Dyson for those who are interested. We also have the Sphere Treasury report, which has got to be one of the longest anticipated and discussed topics for Sphere. So if you haven't had a chance to look through that already, I do plan to try and go through that with you guys so we can talk a little bit about it as we move through here in the AMA. But as of now, this was a snapshot of our March performance. And moving forward, we will plan to track our performance on a quarterly basis. Other relevant news is Chronos and how well it has done, which has been pretty remarkable. So Dyson, therefore Sphere, was one of the top partners in launching with Chronos, receiving the highest tier of VECHR, which is awesome and very humbling and very cool to be able to work with this team. And of course, we want to congratulate Chronos for really kicking things off strong. And of course, we have SPCHR, which can be minted in Dyson. And to do so, you simply have to have CHR tokens, and you can deposit that into Dyson's vault to mint SPCHR. And there is a 5% deposit fee for doing so. And the reason that is because the MA NFTs of Chronos do not allow for a simple way to build auto compounding vaults. But those Dyson vaults for Chronos are currently being worked on. So that is good. But I mentioned we were in the highest tier. That was 400,000 VECHR that we were able to use for governance for our protocols, which is awesome. And because we were able to introduce SPCHR so early, we were able to begin black holing those emissions and growing Sphere's governance on day one, which again is pretty awesome. So there is that said and done. I don't feel as though I need to necessarily go through Preon again, unless people have questions in the chat, because we've covered it a couple times now, and I'll be continuing to release more specific videos on YouTube to help educate people about the inner workings of Preon. So there's always that resource as well. But with that, I just want to talk about the Treasury report because that has been released. So, of course, you can access our Treasury report by going to the announcements. The most recent announcement has the link to the Treasury report. You can also go to sphere.finance/treasury-report. And of course, please be aware that prices are fluctuating, and this is a snapshot of March 2023. And we do plan to release our next report quarterly. So the report shows a breakdown of the Treasury wallets, total dollar value of each wallet, Treasury assets by month, and of course we had 13 million in the Treasury, and part of that is in Sphere Holdings as well. Now everyone was asking about the profits of the Treasury versus the expenses. So we do have that listed out on the Treasury report for those who are interested. We can see the price appreciation of assets. We can see farming revenue earned from liquidity pools. We can see Sphere's holdings on Tetu, both on liquidity pools and yield pools, as well as on Penrose. Yes, we still have our Penrose holdings. And then also the revenue through Dyson. One word on that, because the revenue from Dyson is admittedly not that high, and the thing is, remember that we are still in our building phase. We are still putting these different ecosystem components together, and a lot of focus right now is on Preon, because as we've talked about, Preon, Dyson, Sphere Lend, these will be able to interconnect and work synergistically. So what we really are looking to do is set down these foundations, and then once we have those foundations set, it'll then be easier to begin to scale past that once we have those things in place. So we're not really worried about the Dyson revenue. We still have the yield farming of the Treasury working for us, for Spherians. And we know that we have some very interesting, very cool projects in place and coming that will certainly help boost that ecosystem yield. And once these things are in place, that flywheel will be able to actually make more sense and kick off more strongly. Then, of course, we do see the expenses, where we have 7,000 in operational expenses, about 84,000 in salaries and contracts, and about 81,000 that went to YL Sphere holders. And what was pretty surprising to me was to see that transaction fees were almost $1,000, which is crazy, but we see that that is in Matic, BNB, and ETH. And for all the transactions that are being done, of course, those transaction fees are going to add up. So moving past that, we have the breakdowns of the different treasuries, which I won't go into too much depth on this AMA because just talking about it out loud I don't think is that useful. But you can see all the different breakdowns on our different treasuries, our different multi-sig wallets. There's the investment treasury with its token holdings, balancer pools, Tetu pools, Tetu yield pools, Penrose pools. We, of course, have the liquidity pool treasury itself with the wallet token holdings, the pools on Tetu, including the Matic Sphere LP, which is being farmed through Tetu. And then we also have some cash tokens, which shows up as the StableFi liquidity pools. RFV, we see the wallet token holdings, Tetu liquidity pools, StableFi. We have our Binance Smart Chain treasury with our token holdings, Wombat Exchange liquidity pools to earn from there, Anchor Exchange pools, Unknown Money pools. We still have those going. And then, of course, utilizing our own products, having Dyson liquidity pools as well to earn through Dyson. The Arbitrum chain treasury, token holdings, Dyson's liquidity pools, Optimism, token holdings. We have our charity treasury, which has Sphere that will be allocated for charities in the future. And then our different multi-sig Gnosis wallets with some various token holdings. So there you have it. A lot of detail in this monthly report. And we do plan to have, again, a further breakdown. And I believe the goal is to rework that a bit as well and make it a bit clearer and easier to see and sort through, even more clear than they have done this time. But that will come with the next quarterly report. All right. So Dark asked in chat, what is the net profit after expenses are deducted monthly? Is that the profit or just the total amount? Let's see. Well, I know it's not listed out specifically here, but because this is a snapshot, unless Mott has a better answer, my understanding is these totals in terms, so price appreciation of assets, that's a specific change, right? So we know that is a profit. The 1.7 million on the Matic ST Matic pool is the total amount. So the actual yield is, I don't believe, is displayed there because it is a snapshot. And that's also similar to the liquidity pools, the yield pools, Penrose, and then Dyson revenue is specifically revenue. I see VE Pandu and Oxy typing. So yes, volatile assets are valued at the snapshot time. That's what I thought. And I still see Oxy typing, so I'll give it a minute. And then I have different questions I can talk about as well. But I do want to wait on that so that we can address any Treasury report questions first. So Oxy says you will be able to see the profits expenses comparing this snapshot versus the next one. That makes sense. So yes, so that was my that's what I figured. So because it's a snapshot, what we're able to see and show are the current values of the different tokens, the unclaimed earnings that we have, and because they're volatile assets, what we'll have to do is compare this snapshot to the next snapshot because things are constantly changing all the time. And I know that doesn't give an instant, answer, but in doing it this way, it of course is far more detailed, and you can see everything laid out and compare one snap to the other. So more detail from Ruxpin. It is just a report for 1 month. Partway through the process, it was determined that doing it quarterly would be best and will be the case going forward. More details will be included in the quarterly report, so no worries. So basically, because we're building it ourselves, we are able to have more flexibility, but it also will take more time because after creating this snapshot, we'll have to then compare it when we are building the next snapshot. But then we'll have, as time moves forward, we'll have these different snapshots to compare over time. Right. Yeah, this is a starting point. A very detailed starting point, though. Yes, yes. So initial one is because it was asked for, indeed, and they will be able to get more comprehensive as we continue publishing them. Number one, because we'll have the data to look back on and compare to, but then number two, just is the nature of what we do. We like to continue to work on these things and improve what we can. So please consider this first one to be a reference point. Very good. Well, with that, unless some other questions come up about the Treasury report, I will jump to some of the questions that came up in stage questions. And yes, I do see that we have at least one new comment or question in stage questions, and we will get to that. So first was a question from Jago. Can we deposit the sphere W-matic LP in Preon to earn yield? So kind of have to go about this in a general sense, and that is that one of the key aspects of building out Dyson, Preon, and every other part of the Sphere ecosystem with the developers on the current staff is that we will be able to implement changes and additions to the ecosystem projects very easily. So this idea of earning Preon with the Sphere LP is a good idea, and it has been suggested before. And while the full details and capabilities of the combinations of Dyson Preon working together is still being built out, we of course are committed to creating utility that you guys, the community, and the market wants. So if this is something that the community and market wants, then keep making it known, because we will continue to think about and see if and how it could be integrated. So ultimately, it's a good suggestion. All right. The next question that had come up in stage chat was a little confusing, I'll be honest. Is disk 875 here in the AMA? Just taking a look real quick. Doesn't quite look like it, but so that's okay. I was just hoping for some clarification. The question was how Chronos can benefit Dyson Sphere staking. So I'm not sure exactly where, what you're asking on this, but I thought I could review the collaboration between Chronos and Dyson, and of course Sphere, and kind of talk about those various components and how each benefits. So just general overview, Chronos is a VE33 DEX, and being a DEX, VE33 DEX, it has its own token, the CHR token, and that is used to incentivize different liquidity pools. And the counterbalance to that is that CHR can be vote escrowed, which is VE, into VECHR for a period of time to earn voting power and earn revenue from the protocol. So what Sphere has done is created SP Sphere, which is a liquid wrapped version of SPCHR, which is a liquid wrapped version of VECHR. What that means is when a user takes CHR and deposits it into Dyson to mint SPCHR, Dyson will take that CHR and permanently lock it as VECHR in Chronos. Now, what this does is it gives Dyson a growing basket of VECHR voting power that it can then use to incentivize the SPCHR CHR stable liquidity pool. So what does this do exactly? So number one, it acts as a black hole of CHR emissions, such that as more SPCHR is created, more and more CHR is permanently locked as VECHR. So this benefits Chronos. It also benefits Chronos because Dyson is using its voting power to incentivize liquidity on Chronos, and that liquidity primarily being the SPCHR CHR liquidity pool. So that means that SPCHR is a very liquid token. It can easily be exchanged from SPCHR back to CHR. So people can enter and exit their SPCHR positions. And also they can earn on that liquidity pool. Right now, there is no Dyson Vault because it is being worked on, but SPCHR CHR stable pool can be staked on Chronos itself as a maturity adjusted NFT to earn CHR emissions. So in general, that is a collaboration. Now, it kind of goes a bit further than that because as Dyson grows its governance power over Chronos, Sphere will then be able to use that governance power to expand beyond just incentivizing the SPCHR CHR liquidity pool. So now, after Dyson Sphere has enough voting power, other liquidity pools can start being incentivized and built into Dyson. And as we've talked about with Preon, Sphere can use those VECHR voting power to actually incentivize the STAR token to help kickstart and bootstrap liquidity for STAR. So that is kind of the dual collaboration that comes into play with that. Going one step further, which everyone will always wonders, is how does that benefit Sphere, the price of Sphere, the Sphere token? And this is kind of where I would reference back to more the beginning of this AMA, where I discuss how revenue from the ecosystem can be funneled to Sphere lockers to increase that APR and make purchasing and locking Sphere more attractive for users. And of course, having a stronger Dyson TVL and a larger liquidity within Chronos through Dyson will increase the performance fees that Dyson earns to funnel that yield to Sphere lockers. So that's kind of the whole system, how that whole system works together. Hopefully that answers your question. I know you're not here to kind of clarify what you meant, Disc, but again, hopefully that answers your question. Oh gosh, I'm lost already. So many letters. Oh, take care, crypto. Yes, I will admit it is very hard to also keep track mentally of talking about SPCHR and CHR. It can definitely get quite challenging. I see Mirador in chat typing, and I also see we have a couple more questions coming through, stage questions. So first from MG Dan, any idea why Balancer's APY dropped to 1.21%? Based on what I was seeing is that they had bridged over, I believe that there was an issue with them bridging over the rewards, such that there was a delay in doing that. Beyond that, I don't know specifically. But, we still are using the Tet2 governance that we have to vote on our pool. because of course Sphere as a protocol is earning from that earning yield from that pool. So we're of course continue. How am I trying to say this? We of course are still interested in incentivizing that liquidity as much as we can. One of the reasons it's lower than it was in the past, actually two reasons. Number one is that bribing on Balancer became less profitable. And so we were doing bribing less because of that. The other part of that is that the way Balancer works is that I think it's every year. Correct me if I'm wrong, but after a certain amount of time, the actual emissions on Balancer reduce. And that's built into the protocol that is Balancer. So that's another reason that the APY has dropped, simply because there are fewer emissions to go around. Every year. Yep. Thank you, Pandu. Mirador in stage chat. My first live AMA. Welcome. It's nice to have you. Been listening to the previous material for just over a week, mostly while driving. Very good. Just drive safely. Exceptional project. I'm very glad to have found it. Awesome. Well, welcome aboard. Now's a great time to join us because all of these parts are still being built, and we're still in the process of going through this building phase. So welcome. All right, back in stage questions, I see Team Clara and Dora. Not that it really matters as the end result is the same, but in the Preon, A. Mason explained that Preon and O-Preon were 1-to-1, and to unlock O-Preon, you used ETH at a discounted rate. His example was 100 O-Preon for $50 ETH, and you receive $100 Preon. In your vid, you say unlock 70 for 70, get 100. Like I said, the end result is the same, but it would be nice to know if Preon and O-Preon is 1-to-1. Okay, hold on. 70 Preon. Yeah, so the idea is it is I understand your question now. It is 1-to-1, and the discount rate is variable based on different factors. So we will have to see what that actual percentage will be, what that discount rate will be, and of course that will change over time. But the end result is, yes, your Preon O-Preon will be 1-to-1. So whatever dollar value amount you have, and I see now kind of where I basically made a mistake on that to help people understand. But yeah, so it'd be easier then to refer to Sim's example. So if you have $100 worth of O-Preon, because it's 1-to-1 with Preon, in order to unlock it, say at a 50% discount, you'd use $50 of ETH to receive $100 of Preon. So thank you for pointing that out. Yeah, I appreciate the clarification, and I do see now how my explanation would add some confusion to that. So I apologize. So good clarification. Team Clara, see, you're clarifying. All right. Next stage question is from Jason. I just hopped in. This is probably a very basic question, but I ask anyway, as from the video so far, I didn't get it. Okay, so there is O-Preon that people get for farms. You can use this O-Preon together with ETH to get the Preon stablecoin with a lower ratio than usual. How does this not affect the peg of the stablecoin? No, so you can use O-Preon together with ETH to get Preon at a discount. The stablecoin is STAR. So there's 2 tokens to Preon. Technically 3 because of O-Preon. So yield farmers will earn O-Preon emissions, and that O-Preon can be used together with ETH to get the volatile token Preon at a discount, which you can then, of course, lock as VE Preon or sell on the open market or do, whatever else you so choose. So it has not, that process doesn't have anything to do with the STAR stablecoin. The STAR stablecoin will come through, the traditional CDP, deposit collateral, and borrow the STAR stablecoin. Of course, there's all these other pieces of Preon that kind of have it stand out against other CDPs. For example, the farming gauges where people have, or users, protocols will have to pair their token with STAR in order to earn OPreon. So that is built in that way. But strictly speaking, no, OPreon together with ETH to get Preon. And the stable coin is the STAR coin. Gotcha. It is admittedly quite confusing because it's a lot. There's a lot of words being thrown out. There's a lot of acronyms, and we understand that learning curve is pretty high. So we appreciate the questions. You mentioned that it was a basic question. Don't feel bad for asking questions because it takes a lot of time to really start to understand this stuff, especially DeFi. So please ask away. Don't feel bad or ashamed or anything for asking questions. That's what we're here for. We're here to help. And like I said, we know that it's difficult to understand and kind of, build up that knowledge base. I like to say, if anyone knows what the oxygen saturation curve looks like, that's what I say that the learning curve for DeFi is like. So initially it is very challenging. So yes, all questions are welcome. And Pandu says, I believe it's around 15.9% BAL emissions reduction each year. Right. I remember it was a not even number and thinking, why wouldn't they just make it 16% or something like that? Very good. Very good. See a lot of people typing in stage chat. But otherwise, I'm actually through all the information I wanted to go through. So we may end up cutting short our AMA for today. But again, I see several people are typing. So let's take a look here. Because in DeFi, it's normal to create confusion like this. All right. The more confusing, the better. No. There we go. Somewhat comfortable in the general DeFi space, but there are just so many moving parts to Sphere. Yeah, we get that. We definitely get that. You can always fall back, Jason, on thinking Sphere is going to be earning revenue from all these different things anyway. So if it seems overwhelming or too complicated, just remember that Sphere will be the meta governance token of it. You'll be able to earn from all that revenue just with Sphere, be it VE Sphere or SP Sphere, and that will come later. Right now, it's just YL Sphere, can earn revenue from that. So it's kind of ironic, right? We're trying to simplify DeFi but making it more complicated, but that's obviously not the case. We just have to build out all of these different components, and then once they're all working in tandem, we can then showcase and funnel that back to Sphere, and that's where that kind of will click into place and become more simple. And then people can explore the actual ecosystem as well. But having everything out in place, and having Sphere as the meta governance center of that to earn from all that revenue is the simplification of it. So yes. Ultra, thank you for the oxygen saturation curve. Yes, I really think it is this way because when you start out, there's so much information to take in, and it's just extremely difficult to climb up that hill. But then once you start to understand it, your brain just kind of develops these pathways and these knowledge bases for kind of having a foundation from which to then understand other aspects of DeFi that are more complicated. Mirador, are the team sharing slash presenting the financial summary doc to other parties outside of social media? It's an exceptional document, sort of thing you could put up in front of groups with connections. Interesting. That would fall on the marketing team. And of course, our collaboration with the external marketing team. So I can't really speak much on that, but thank you. That's a big compliment. We appreciate that, and hopefully it only gets better in time because we'll be able to use this snapshot as kind of a reference or base from which to grow additional data. Team Clara, as things get released and you can actually see all its parts working together, it will get easier than trying to paint a picture in your head of how it will work. Yeah, definitely agree with that. I've been blessed with a very conceptual way of thinking and visualizing things. It's very easy for me to do that. And I think that's why I enjoy this role so much, is because I can visualize things and understand things that are arbitrary. Like Preon isn't even built yet, right? We have very little actually tangible to show people how Preon will work, but it's easy for me to visualize that. But the fact is that not everyone is a visual learner. Not everyone can do that conceptualization because we're all different, unique people. We have different strengths and weaknesses. Like me with math, I'm like, where's the calculator? So, we understand that too. And absolutely, I think, and again, I can't help but go back to my clock analogy, building like a stopwatch or a grandfather clock or what have you. We're putting these cogs in place, and to the average user, you're like, well, why is that there? Like, it's not even like moving correctly. Like, what is going on? What are all these things doing? But we have to build out the entire clock and before we can finally really set it in motion and tick as one. And then it'll be very easy, I think, for people to step back, look at the clock and be like, oh, that makes sense. And now I can go in deeper into these different components if I want to. But the simplified version is just having sphere. So Jason, yeah, I have my wild sphere. I know what VE sphere is, and Dyson is all dandy. Just haven't got my head around Preon and Star quite yet, but that's on me. Well, it's also on us. We recognize that there's a lot of challenging concepts within Preon because it's kind of integrating three different things, right? You have a CDP where you deposit collateral and withdraw the Star stablecoin. You have farm pools where the only requirement is that you have to pair another token with Star. So let's just say ETH Star on any DEX. And so you can take that LP receipt token from the DEX and stake it on Preon. And then, it's kind of works similarly to a VE33 system, right? Where VE Preon holders can vote on these pools to direct Preon emissions. So, that is one area in and of itself. And then you have Preon, where instead of just the traditional yield farming, where farmers are earning these tokens essentially for free for providing that liquidity, now you have a call option or a bond token where there's an extra step of users needing to provide ETH to basically unlock that liquid Preon at a discount. So it is still profitable to yield farmers, and Preon as a protocol benefits as well. So there's quite a few different components, and I do think, kind of going into what Team Clara is saying, it will get easier to visualize once it's actually there and built out. And then I can go through tutorial videos as well. And once it's there and in front of you, I think it'll be easier to understand. But yeah, while it's still arbitrary and conceptual, it can be quite difficult to grasp. So we appreciate your patience on that, as well as we continue to work to try to help you understand that also. So for example, this Friday and Monday are two videos to help further break down these concepts for people to understand how Preon works and what we've already talked about just a bit in more detail, separated from everything else, because again, it can be a lot of information. Okay. Well, good deal. Anyone have any other questions or thoughts for this week? Pandu and Mirador. Did you wash your hands before the AMA? Of course. I would get fired instantaneously if I didn't. It's like a ritual, right? Absolutely, absolutely. See Mirador and Ultra typing. Staff all assigned to wash hands before any events or we get fired. Oh man. Gotta keep the ritual alive. Mirador, thanks for the summary. Enjoying all of this until next week. Absolutely. Thanks for being here. There you go, Ultra. Thanks for being here. We'll take another minute to see if there's any other questions, and then we can close out as well. I see Partisan is typing. Hopefully it's a nice day where you guys are. If you still have some daylight left, try your best and enjoy it. If not, hopefully you are able to wind down and get a good restful sleep and feel recharged for tomorrow. But yeah, I guess we can go ahead and close off the AMA. So thank you everybody for showing up, for being here, for asking your questions. All questions are always welcome. We're happy to respond to them. If you think of anything throughout the week, there's of course the stage questions where I'll be able to answer them on this community AMA. You can also funnel questions through the different chats. So for example, the Sphere chat, the Dyson chat, and we have a lot of great community members who are willing to help out, who answer those questions. We also have our moderators and guardians who, or other team members who are here to play a role and assist as well. I see Surma typing, and I am very intrigued. I'm on the edge of my seat, Surma. Yeah, exactly. Thank you everyone that has questions and showed up. Thank you. Oh, me. Oh, well, hey, all right. Hosting another great weekly AMA. You're very welcome. I feel abandoned by Surma. Well, very good, very good. So yeah, we'll go ahead and end it. Always remember that you guys each matter for who you are. You always have something valuable to bring and give just for who you are. Always remember that. And until next time, I hope you have a great week. And yeah, peace out, everyone.